me see your war face!
Hey, Thrand here.
Hey, this is Eldgrimr.
And today we've got special guest, Terry Vezina.
Yeah, Terry the meme maker.
And he's also a musician. He's well versed in all the old sagas and the eddas and all the old text. He is a Viking historian we have today. He is basically our Skald for Well of Remembrance. So,
welcome, Terry.
Our Facebook page. How are you doing this evening?
Sajtobestor, Fernikeberstuta.
Jag kan gå åt det, ja.
Outfit. So, we were here to talk about Vikings and everything else.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
Most definitely, we're doing a Vikings review today, as well as other things.
Yeah, but pretty much everything Viking. So yeah, we're talking about History's Vikings. Series is getting ready to close out. I think we just have a few episodes left now.
What did you think about the most recent episode? It looks like, Catherine Winnick's character, Lagartha, it looks like she had a miscarriage possibly, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that's leading up to something, you see, because, as we were discussing a little bit before, there's, in the preview for the next episode, they're talking about the sacrifice that's coming up, and my theory is that Lagartha is actually going to offer herself for the sacrifice, since she'll probably feel unworthy for having lost the child, and that's going to make room for Alstoid's character to come in. That's my theory.
I kind of cheated, and I don't know if why that they still have her there, but they have Catherine Winnick's character in episodes after, because I think there's like 8 or 9 episodes, and the one's called All Change or something like the last one.
Right.
This next one's Sacrifice, but she appears in it, and then they add the new character, Lisa Sutherland, I don't want to mispronounce her name, but I think I've got her actual page, and I'm trying to get her to see if she'll do a
Alyssa,
interview.
Alyssa, I think it's.
I've been urging people to go like her page and stuff, but she's basically playing Kraka, which means crow, or I don't know if they're going to go into that part of the history, or Aslar, which Aslar kind of, if you listen to the name, sounds like God's law. The actual name in Norse. That's what it sounds like it means. So it's a female name. So I don't know what they're going to do with her, but I don't understand this. Ragnar could have more than one wife. Any Viking male in any country, although Danes only didn't have as many wives because they didn't have the property to spare and the money. But if you could afford it, you have multiple wives. This show's almost acting like these are Christians. Like, they only have one wife. I don't understand that part of it.
Well,
they could.
It would be up to the woman. I know your wife could demand you only have one. She wants to be the only one. That is possible. She has to agree on the other wife. I know that as well.
Yeah, well, a wise man knows his place, and I think it's from life's experience these days, it's hard enough to keep one woman happy. You don't want a bunch of them hanging up on you. I just got in trouble with a lot of women, didn't I?
No, we understand you on that one.
One of the things I didn't agree with one of the past episodes was Ragnar offering his wife to the monk. I don't think that was very common.
Unless it was a test. I still wonder if it was a test to, like Jarl tested, Haraldson tested the spy that he had, or the man that he had that was on the trip. He pretty much tested him and then killed him all. Saying that he was trying to sleep with his wife after he offered his wife to her, which is very treacherous. And, that's not something that would normally be done unless you're a bad guy or the ultimate villain in a saga. But for Ragnar to do it, I mean, you kind of look at them like maybe they're just a couple that doesn't care, because they're both warriors, and he sees her more like a male, and she gets to make decisions, and she wanted to do that. But I don't think it was a common event. I mean, it could happen, but if it does happen, you could have a child and not know who the father is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem.
That's
the lineage was a big thing to them. You had to know who the father was.
Yeah.
And a bastard child, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of laws say they only got a third of the compensation, as an actual legitimate child. So it was a big deal to them, is what I'm saying. Who the father
I think what
was.
they're really trying to do here is
they had alimony back then, pretty much, or child support. Child support to a degree.
Yeah, exactly.
There was no alimony. They actually just split their belongings when they broke up. But a couple. Yeah. And they did have divorce. A woman could divorce.
Yeah, but I think what the filmmakers are really trying to do here is to sort of stretch things to make a point showing the difference between the uptight Christian world at the time and the freer Norse sexuality, and they're just taking it a step further to emphasize the point.
Right.
That's my opinion.
We know that the males, I mean, were infamous for, like, since they could have multiple wives, they would go out. They would not mess with other men's wives. That was a major crime. But if a woman wasn't married, they could go out and fool around as long as they didn't get her pregnant. And if they got caught, even though they weren't supposed to be courting her or whatever, they'd get a small fine. Their wife might get mad at them. Doesn't normally mean it was grounds for divorce. So a lot of times they were pretty promiscuous. The males, I just didn't. From what I understood, married females were not promiscuous. You know what I'm saying. Historically, they weren't expected.
Exactly.
That's why they wore the scarf on their head to show that they were married, and the other women did not, because they were available. You know, if you saw a woman with a scarf on her head, she was somebody's wife, and if she had brooches and keys hanging and stuff, that's the main wife. You didn't mess with her at all. Mm-hmm. You flirted with her.
Yeah, exactly.
She's liable to attack you, or he's liable to attack you himself, what you tell him to.
Now, you know, this is something that's been going off on the Well of Remembrance. It's been the Lagertha mentioning Rig.
Oh, Rig.
Yeah, Rig.
You know a lot about the history, and a lot of people think he's Heimdall, and I read some write-ups that some people believe he might have been Odin that they were describing, not Heimdall, that it was a Kenning bringing up Heimdall in one of the other stories to identify who Rig was. Was it Leia Rig or something like that?
Yeah. Generally it was Odin that was going around, doing the sleeping with the mortal women. Although they all sort of took part in it, but the big one was Odin, and like you say, Heimdall was the one who saw pretty much everything that was going on and answered the questions for the gods.
Yeah, he wouldn't be the one roaming around because he couldn't do his job doing so.
That's true.
But I did like her ruling. The ruling where she said that it was definitely Rig that did it, and that was who it was, and that he was blessed, that he couldn't have a child anyway, and he had a good wife, and he should take care of the child and give a sacrifice to Heimdall.
Yeah.
I thought
that really shows her wisdom, and it also shows that she's fully capable of being an effective ruler while Ragnar's off having a good time.
It's strange.
On his page.
Yeah, it's strange bringing that up. That the women, when the men were away, did defend the property. They told all the servants what to do. The guy didn't have to be a jarl; he just had to be a bondi, a freeman, a carl. And the thing was, they told everybody what to do, and they did all kinds of stuff. They built bridges while the men were gone.
They were administrators.
They built walls to defend the place if they had to. They did all kinds of things like that. I mean, besides just what they think that
which I think is a really great contrast.
So
I think it's a really great contrast in that period of time against the Christian incursion into the north. Women are not administrators in that culture, the Christian culture.
No. They were more like property at that time.
Right, and I think that we
not that the Vikings didn't have property.
I think that the drama, the narrative, does a really great job of giving us that picture of kind of how they do administrate their household, how they administrate in political positions. I really enjoy that, but there's one thing about the family structure that I didn't really like, and that's the first episode of the season with Bjarn. And Bjarn becomes a man. And yet he's still treated as if he's a child. And I don't know that that's actually accurate. I think once they're old enough to go out there and do these things, to be a man and things like that.
13, 14 years old, they'd be on the battlefield.
Yeah, you'd be out doing.
Historically, Ragnar, the actual historical character, he was already a well-respected and powerful warrior by the time he was 15, and he married his first wife at the age of 15.
Oh, correct. That's wasn't that Thora?
Yes, that was Thora.
And that's the one where he kills the great serpent.
Yeah.
The dragon, the Ormy.
Exactly. Speaking of which, I love those Ragnar Lothbrok memes. Those are so awesome.
Oh yes,
those are great. They go
no real Ragnar.
Yes. Well, yeah, I think it's a great counterpoint to the show.
I wanted a way to to show the people what the real story, according to, well, I can't call it the real story, but what the the old tales were, as compared to what they're actually seeing on TV. So they don't think that what they're seeing is a true historical representation, because what they're doing with this show is trying to squeeze 300 years of history into the lifetime of a few recognizable characters.
King Ella, or Ella, or whatever they want to call him on the show, would not have been Ella or Ella. He would have been Aethelred or Ethelred. The king, that was the king that during Lindensfarne. That's who would have been king. And he wasn't really Christian. He was Christian, but he was more of an old Saxon king and abided by all their ways. And then you have Alcuin of York, or Saint Alcuin to the people who believe as a saint, the Christians' beliefs that believe that. And he was a very wise and learned man. And he went there, and he was an abbot, if I'm not mistaken. He was part of the church.
Yeah.
He came there and he was part of Charlemagne's court. Well, he went there and hung out with them and thought that he was a barbaric man and not very Christian. He went to Lindensfarne and found out that they supposedly had started believing in the adoptionist heresy, which started in Toledo, Spain, and that's where they believed Christ was adopted. In other words, he wasn't really the Son of God. He was a very holy and righteous rabbi or priest, and then God, when he baptized him, accepted him as his son. So that was really big taboo in the church. It was outlawed, I think, in the 1st or 2nd century, that belief, and that had popped up. So when you hear all the stuff, the accounts, he had left Lindensfarne in 792 and went back to Charlemagne's court, Alcuin. And he was not there when any of this took place. And what he used the raid for was to talk about how these priests had strayed away from God. And they weren't, you know what I'm saying, they weren't following the true religion, and that's why they were cursed by God. And the Vikings came in, these heathens came in and took everything they had, killed them and all that. He's the one who talks about the whirlwinds and the storm, and we even see that in the series, the fire-breathing dragons and a large famine. And then after this famine, because that was because of that king, Aethelred, and Lindensfarne, the beliefs that were going around there, spreading around, that he heard, that he was trying to scare them back into the straight and true religion. And he writes a lot of the text about the raids. Some of these raids we haven't even found historical evidence on certain of the monasteries and stuff that supposedly got raided later on. We think that he was using it as a fear tactic, a lot of it. I mean, not all of it. There was wars going on, battles, and we know that the Great Heathen Army did, but some of it we think he embellished to, you know what I'm trying to say, to scare the priests into doing what they were supposed to do in the kings. He was using them as a fear tactic.
When these accounts were written, especially the account of Lindisfarne, he
was not there.
No, exactly. He was nowhere near there. He was hundreds of miles away. But this whole thing brings up a theory that I have about the actual attack on Lindisfarne, which I believe wasn't an unprovoked attack. It was a retaliatory strike, because at this time, 11 years earlier in 782, Charlemagne, who ruled, basically from the south of France and Spain all the way up to Lower Saxony, he passed a law saying that basically all pagans were to be put to death in his kingdom, and anyone who helped a pagan was to be put to death. And helping a pagan would also include trading with them. And the Norse culture, for at least 100 years previous to the Viking Age, had peaceful trade going on with Ireland and England. That was going on. So all of a sudden, they're deprived of this trade. They have no other choice but to go in and attack. And what better, what better target than
easy
the
target.
people that
very easy target. There were guards there. They don't show any in the program. There were guards there. They just didn't expect anything. It's a church or a monastery or an abbey or whatever. The point is, the Christian peoples would not attack that.
I like that.
They attack a keep or something if they want to attack another king or another, earl or whatever. A bear. Can I bring this one up? They had missionaries already there. The first place to I don't know by Lindisfarne if they actually had contact exactly then, but I know that Birka was one of the first places to have an actual church. They let them set it up. They said, hey, no one's going to listen to you, but go ahead. The Vikings were very acceptant to stuff. They wouldn't go, oh, you're a priest from another religion, we're going to kill you, like the Christians would. If you went in there and behaved properly, they would let you do it. It was like, okay, fine, set yourself up a church, that's fine, we'll let you do that. We don't know if anybody's going to listen to you, and it wasn't very successful, but that's why there's some people who believe, I think they're from Norway, that believe this, but Birka was in Sweden, right, or I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Birka was in Sweden.
Right, well,
and
there's some Norwegian scholars who say they have enough evidence from different bits and pieces here and there that they believe that maybe, because the Christianity was being introduced there first, that might be, there was a cult there that followed Odin. It was like they said they'd uncovered an area where it was built like the great halls of Valhalla, the way they built it, and it was male, female, everything would be there. They were berserkers to be called on by the king, and the thing was they were going to dismantle that. The Christians were saying, look, you can't have that. They're telling the king that. This is wrong. You can't have these people who sacrifice to the gods, train all day, and you pay them to drink all night in case you need them, and they're worshiping. You know what I'm saying? It started messing with them, and they heard about the other stuff you're talking about. They may have been responsible for partially for the people who showed up at the raid. That's what they say.
Yeah, exactly.
But more than likely they're from Denmark because it's closer to. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago, actually, a Norse pagan site was found in Norway, but they wound up just sort of leaving, sort of bulldozing over it and trying to forget all about it.
That's not
I'd
right.
have to reread on it.
That is not right, though. It should be excavated, and we should learn everything we can from it.
And there was actually another situation in the 1950s here. I just found out about this the other day. I'm sure you've heard of Lanza Meadows in Newfoundland, which is the Viking village the only unearthed Viking village in North America. But they've in the 1950s there was one found on Cape Breton Island as well, but they just sort of pushed that to the side. They didn't do anything horrible to it. They just sort of ignored it, and nothing was really further done with it because they were building another town, right beside it, and they didn't want to upset the French population by, giving more news stories, to this find, and no one's done anything about it since. So consequently, I mean, there's an old Viking village just buried there that's open for any archaeologist really that wants to go in and have a look.
Yeah,
if I had the skills to do it, I'd love to.
Well, yeah, the skills are pretty easy to develop, but my biggest concern about resources. But my biggest concern about sites like this one that we're talking about that are open like that is that you have relic hunters that go in and really damage a site and
they're looking for that one valuable find, not worried about anything.
They take things out of their
They
take things out of their provenience. And once it's out of provenience, it's sort of out of context in space and time, and so we really have no
exactly what the purpose was, what it was used for, what they had it there for, how it got there.
I think that a site like that should really be taken control of by professionals, and it should be a controlled site because it's valuable to us and valuable to our understanding of these first explorers into North America.
Well, one of the really good things about this is not a whole lot of people know about it, and it's probably a good thing that I can't remember the name of the place because otherwise people might want to go for it.
Right at Repton, that was messed up, and supposedly the stories are there was a big giant there at Repton, in Mercia, at the church of Repton. And there was supposed to be a big giant there. I don't think we've ever uncovered that. Because I see one thing when they say they did, and they found the bones, and they were all mixed up because they dug it up and just threw it back in there. But they described he was buried in the middle, and the other bodies were buried around him. And he's supposed to be huge. But they describe somebody that's like 8 foot tall or something, or 9 foot tall. I can't really picture that. 9 foot tall. That's hard to picture though. But I mean, some people are, that was Ivar, and Ivar the Beilausi. The boneless. And I'm sitting there going, well, maybe he did have giantism and his knees were messed up. I don't know. And he walked with crutches. But it doesn't sound right, though. It doesn't sound like a character. Yeah. But I'm just saying that's an example of them digging something up earlier period, writing some stuff about it, and then burying it all back. You know, no one knows that because all the bones are mixed up. I mean, nobody's laid out like
and it takes everything out of its place in history.
And I don't think they found a bunch of weapons or anything there either. So what I'm thinking is maybe
no, it was just a burial plot.
Right. I think what happened is they might have robbed it too while they were going through it.
We have access to knowledge and data that we didn't have before, and certainly it's helped a show like Vikings. I don't think 20 years ago we could have seen a show like that.
If you look at the Vikings by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer back in the day with we always bring that one up. Cool. But if you look at that, it was okay for the time period, but they didn't know what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? It's not very Viking at all.
No, and
I should say Scandinavian. Viking's the wrong term. You know what I mean, though. We use that word as catch-all nowadays. So it wasn't very Scandinavian or Norse.
Come so far. I think there's been a huge resurgence in the people of Northern European descent to try to seek out their roots, because for so long, we've been told that we don't have a culture. That we're sort of the default. It's only in the past few years that we've been able to actually express pride in our Northern European roots. Everyone of every culture should be proud of their roots.
Absolutely.
And where they came from, and we should all be celebrating our differences.
And I consider myself a warrior above all other things. So I consider all warriors from all humanity around the entire earth as my brethren. I don't care what country they come from. And I like to study what they did, how they operated, how they functioned, what weapons they had, what armor they had. And I mean, we're not just Viking reenactors. We love all I guess I say the military or combat in history. I mean, all the warrior culture, the hunter-gatherers.
Yeah, we sort of take a holistic approach.
Right. I mean, that to me, they're my ancestors. Humanity is my ancestors.
Exactly.
But we do have our direct lineage as well that we should honor and know where we came from.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with being proud of that either.
Not at all. And I think I think this resurgence is really good. I think it's been good for the Well of Remembrance, that's for sure. And thanks to your memes, we got to give you a lot of credit for that. The Well of Remembrance has just launched, since you started since you started as an administrator and started making these memes. And I have to say, I wish I had your creativity and talent for these things.
He's also an excellent musician, though.
Yeah, I've listened to some of your music, man. You shred.
That one song you posted, No Valkyries, fits that one character. What's his name? I can't even remember the old
Toasty.
Okay.
Toasty was his name, and
it fits him to a T. The old man that wants to die and go to Valhalla like all the other warriors that he's been with, and he got left out because he was so good. He beat one, never died, got wounds, but he never went down. So he sees it as a curse.
And the character Toasty was actually a historical character from the sagas, and his daughter wound up being the queen of is it Norway or Sweden? Can't remember, but at any rate, she was kind of an interesting character because at one point these two rival kings were coming in. They wanted to marry her, basically to take her lands, and she recognized this, so she had them both stay in the same guest house. And while they were there, she set the guest house on fire, and then when they tried to run out, they were killed.
Brilliant.
Wise woman.
So,
love it.
And these are the things that it's such a colorful history. So much of our current culture comes from that. I mean, as we were talking earlier, the idea of a 12-member jury, that's Scandinavian. The idea of democratic parliament, that's Icelandic right there. I mean, Iceland has still has the longest run democratic parliament in history. And it's and right now they're really the only truly democratic country in the world, because after the revolution, they basically any major decision that that affects the people of the country has to be ratified by the people.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, how do we access your music? That's what we'd like to know. How do we access your music online and your videos?
Okay. Well, my videos are on YouTube, and I for the life of me, I can't really remember the thing. We'll just have. Well, I'll post it on the Facebook page on the Well of Remembrance.
Well, Remembrance on Facebook, yeah. And he is a content creator there, and he makes all our memes and handles all of our stories, all our old sagas. He condenses them, puts them down, and translates them, puts them so you can read them. All the old information.
And so as far as the music goes, you can find that also on Facebook at Terry Vezina's V Flight. That's and once again, I can post up a link on the Well of Remembrance Facebook page, and I highly recommend any of the people watching these videos who haven't been to the Well of Remembrance Facebook page. I mean that's the place to go, to really get the skinny on what's happening with everyone around. That's that.
We cover everything from fictional stuff from the Vikings to any new material on anything historical that we like to actual heritage culture of other warriors as well too, not just Vikings. When we put
samurai.
We even go into some science fiction. We've even done stuff with like Star Trek and the Gorn canon and stuff like that. So on our videos we post memes and stuff from it. You work at the museum, correct?
That's I do. I'm a freelance professional Viking.
I wish I had your job.
You do have your job.
Well, in theory, but I saw the museum.
We
very nice.
What's called the New Iceland Heritage Museum, and every once in a while they bring in tour groups or school groups, and they have what's called the Viking experience, where they call me to come in, in my full Viking costume. And sometimes, depending on the age group and what they're actually after, I can give a lecture on Viking culture. Or next month, I've got a group of third graders coming in, and I'm going to show them some of the toys that Viking kids played with, and show them how their lives are actually not all that different from those of the Viking kids.
Well, make sure you
teaching them a little bit about runes.
Did they not invent soccer? Soccer was originally a game very similar to an Old Norse game that it derived from, I believe.
That I'm not sure. However,
what I read is it was true, but I don't know.
They did have an excellent game called Coup, which was a game where you would basically throw sticks across a yard. It's sort of halfway between lawn darts and I guess lawn bowling. If you get a chance, look it up. It's spelled two different ways. It's K-U-B or K-O-O-B. It's an excellent game, great for playing at the beach. And they had a form of chess called Hefnatafu.
Hefnatafu, yeah.
It's basically means fist table. Yeah.
But then they sit on the table was actually set where you sit on your knees between two chairs to play the actual board, if I'm not mistaken. And it's very much like chess, but a little bit more complicated.
Much more complicated.
Yeah, more complex. I've played the game before. Yes, I used to have a board that I'd made.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I had the right rules.
Well, Terry, make sure you get us some pictures for the Well of the kids and the Viking toys. That'd be great. I think all our fans would love to see that.
Most definitely.
I really do.
That's something you don't see along the posted. If you could do some pics of it, some write-ups.
I guess I should also mention about some of the videos that I'm going to be doing soon for my YouTube channel. I finally decided the direction that my YouTube channel is going to take, and on this, basically what I'm going to be doing is telling the old tales from a longhouse setting. It's almost going to be like an old, this old Viking is telling you tales in the longhouse. I'm going to be covering everything from mythology to the sagas. There'll be some songs in there, some of the old songs. One of my favorites is Bendik and Ottolilja, which I believe is the story that Shakespeare borrowed to create Romeo and Juliet.
I'm really excited to see that, Terry. I'm really excited for you that you've got. I mean, that's a really inspirational idea. I love it.
Well, it's something that that wasn't on YouTube that I could find. So
I would love to see it. But I was gonna say a lot of great literature comes from the old sagas and stuff. Like if we look at Lord of the Rings with Gollum, it's a lot like it's about Silmaril saga, but it's like Fafnir and Sigurd. I mean, Fafnir was a dwarf who turned into a dragon, and then he slays him. But it was over a piece of treasure that did it. That's what caused him to become so greedy and turn into this beast that needed to be slain. So you look at it that way, and it was a cursed piece of treasure. It's a lot like, I mean, you can see it similar, but it's a lot like the Ring. You have the hero that goes, it's not Frodo, but I'm saying it's very similar in the respects, the outline of the story.
Yeah, and then there's also
I've always seen that
Chronicles. The Chronicles of Narnia have a huge Norse influence as well. So.
Well, I'm sure that we'll get to see all of that in your new web series on YouTube, and make sure you post on Well of Remembrance the channel name so that everybody can go there.
Be sure to post all that tonight for sure.
Definitely.
Well, feel free to post anytime. Actually.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You're always appreciated, man. Everything you've done for the Well of Remembrance is just stellar. We look forward to meeting you someday and at the Icelandic Festival. Hopefully we get up there, and this interview has just been spectacular, and
it was a pleasure. Yes,
absolutely, and I hope to have you back on again, Terry.
I'd love to. I mean, I'm just thankful for having become a part of this.
We are happy to have you as part of Well of Remembrance for sure.
Yeah. Maybe someday we'll get you on camera, man. In real life, and maybe
maybe we can go to the festival he's talking about. That's what I would like to do.
Yeah, that'd be a great episode. It looks like we're kind of running out of time here, and so like to remind our fans that this is Terry Vezina. He's our administrator on Well of Remembrance, and a very good friend of ours, musician, just an artist in general.
A true Skald. He is a Skald.
That's right. That's right, man.
All right, I have one more thing I have to show you guys.
Okay.
I'll go off camera for a second here.
Okay.
Definitely. Anything else you need to add? Let's add it in.
This little guy here. This is the dragon head for the boat that I hope to build this summer.
That is beautiful.
I carved this. So.
Yeah, man. Definitely send us updates on that,
I would love
Terry.
to help you with the boat if he lives here.
Yeah, that's right. I would definitely like to have my hands on that. Well, fans, we'd love to thank you for joining us today here at the Well of Remembrance. I'm Eldgrimr Skaldmusician, and my associate.
And farewell.
Farewell.
Viv Shallows.
From the Stone Age to the Space Age, if you like sharp things, pointy things, sharp pointy things, or even explodey things, then visit Thrand and Eldgrimr's Well of Remembrance on Facebook, or visit us at YouTube user Thrand to see all the action.